Wow. I gotta get a break from these horror movies. They're all starting to look the same.
Conjuring is like 5 more movies molded into one.
That explains it. Well, welcome back to 31 Days of Halloween. I'm JS.
And I'm Bill.
And today we are talking about James Wan's The Conjuring, which you may or may not have seen in theaters earlier this year.
If you saw it at all, I hope you did see it in theaters.
Yeah, and it's now available on DVD, Blu-ray, and many other fine locations. So, Bill, what did you think about The Conjuring?
Well, you know, when I saw The Conjuring, I saw it in a packed theater, and there was this old guy behind me who was having a hoot. Within the first 5 minutes, he was laughing hysterically at just about everything that was supposed to be creepy or scary. And so when that Annabelle doll, I distinctly remember, is sitting in the apartment with the paper that says "Miss Me?" on it, he just went into a hysterical fit, and his laugh was hilarious, and honestly I thought the moment was kind of hilarious too.
Yeah.
And I started laughing, and that pretty much set the tone for my entire Conjuring viewing experience.
Okay, that explains it then. That opening was really awesome. That was like a completely different movie too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it follows the Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? These are like paranormal activity researchers. I mean, they're the ones.
Experts.
Yeah, experts. I'm sorry, and they're the ones famous for the Amityville horror case and all of that. But supposedly, this is the one story they've been holding back until 2013, so that we can finally get it.
The one story that sounds just exactly like the rest of them, including the Amityville horror.
Yeah. And so it begins with. It's almost like Raiders of the Lost Ark in a way, because it begins at the end of one case and then gets into another one. It's a nice touch, I think. It's a way to introduce us to those characters. But I was most invested in, honestly, the Lily Taylor, her whole family. I thought that side of the story was much more interesting, actually, even though it was a little more conventional.
You know, I think the casting was really well done. Everyone in it, that's actually one thing that impressed me, is everyone looked very natural and very real. No one was super beautiful. I actually believe that this family was living in this house at this time.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just, they were distractingly attractive, and they were all competent performers.
Yeah, for the most part. Vera Farmiga, she's...
The family.
Oh, you're talking specifically about the family. Okay, got it. Well, what did you think about Vera Farmiga?
You know, ever since I saw that mashup of her on Base Motel where she like flips out every 5 seconds and is like, "Screw you!" That's pretty much how I look at her now. So everything she does, I kind of like am waiting for that Vera Farmiga over the top touch.
Sure.
So I don't know if that's tainted. I thought she was, you know, fine, but she probably contributed to the unintentional hilarity of my Conjuring experience.
Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with her performance, honestly.
She goes all in. She definitely goes all in for these really hammy, silly movies.
Yeah, I mean, and this is a movie that like it seems to like really believe what it's talking about. It even begins and ends with these block of text, like telling us, if you believe in this, then, you know, it almost like is preachy, which I thought was pretty surprising. And it's probably because Lorraine Warren, the actual figure that this is based on, was so heavily involved. I mean, they even were towing her around for all the press junkets and everything.
It definitely wants you to take it very, very seriously. But the problem is that all James Wan's movies are kind of like carnivals. They're like circuses of horror. And they're very well orchestrated. He's great with the camera, great with the atmosphere, but it's all teetering on the edge of just completely falling apart and becoming a parody of itself, and it becomes so over the top, but at the same time it wants you to take it so seriously.
Yeah. Insidious 2 would be a great companion piece with this, because it's ridiculous how much overlap there is. Like, you could take scenes out of one or the other, and just by covering the faces of the actors, you wouldn't know which movie you're watching. But yeah, I agree, the cinematography is the strongest thing this has going for it, probably. John Leonetti, who's worked with Wan in a lot of his other films, actually did the camera work here. And it has some of these great long takes at the beginning, like when they first move into the house. there's this shot that follows them all the way through the front door and out the back door.
Yeah.
And it's exploring that space just really well, which is something Juan is really good at.
They did that montage as well when like Ed and Lorraine are bringing their ghost hunters or whatever into the house, and they're setting up, and it's set to that music, and it's all the different. I think it's like the camera is moving, and every time it pans, we're in a new room, and it sort of feels like, you know, like a slideshow, almost like kind of like a Wes Anderson kind of camera move. I don't know. That's like the highlight for me of the movie, to be honest.
Well, it's not going to change anything, and it's very reminiscent of those 70s horror films of yesteryear, and it's purposely trying to do so.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just a cute callback, if anything else.
It's too reminiscent.
Okay.
And that's the problem. Like, you know, at some point, you know, it has to become its own movie. And I think Insidious, for the most part, was pretty good about that stuff for the last 30 minutes. It had its own sort of vibe, and it felt very kind of dangerous and scary. But The Conjuring wants to be the evolution of that, but it's actually not. It's actually, you know, basically ripping things straight out of Amityville, The Exorcist. The family dynamic is very similar to Poltergeist.
Yeah, that's true.
Which Insidious was also pretty close to. It's just too much of not its own thing. And a lot of the scares are taken from James Wan's traditional, or Wan, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it wrong, you know, like people getting tugged at the back of a room and flown up into the camera. It's like kind of the same thing over and over.
The effects are quite nice as well. But yeah, at the end of the day, you've seen this movie before, but if that's what you're looking for is a good old-fashioned horror movie, it might work for you.
Or a comedy.
Or it can work on that level. So for Movie Clips, this is JS.
And I'm Bill.